r/TalesFromTechSupport, episode 16. It didn't seem important at the time. Short one from my coworker today. Guy comes in and can't log into his user account. Okay, no problem. Coworker option boots and goes into terminal, attempts to reset password. Unit has file vault enabled. Coworker, you have encryption enabled. It says a recovery key was provided. Cust, yeah, I don't know it. I didn't write it down. Coworker, that's the only way in. Why didn't you save it? Cust, didn't seem important at the time. I really need back in. I'm developing an app. Coworker, oh, well if you're developing something you must have a backup. Cust, backup. That's it. Coworker politely sent him on his way after offering to restore the device. It's always the app developers. The ultimate protection for USB sticks. Who needs backups anyway? I just remember this special interaction I've had. It has become my #1 tale to scare my users into backing up their files, and I thought I'll share it with you. Excuse any grammar errors, English is not my first language and AMP, #X200B. It was a couple of years ago, I was fresh out of my apprenticeship in my first real job at a big university in Central Europe. My team consisted of 6 people, every one of us has a couple of faculties to support. We also have a help desk that routes calls from those faculties to the right supporter and that answer the general problems from students and AMP, #X200B. At that time, my faculty was the law faculty. Now, law professors are a special breed, on par with doctors in their god complex. But everyone knows the secretaries are the people that actually run this joint, and even the profs are scared of angering them. To make my life easier, I made a point to befriend them. This was made easier by the fact that I'm their first female supporter, and they were so fascinated by this that they regularly invited me for their daily coffee and cake breaks. That also meant they sometimes ask me for things that I'm strictly speaking not allowed to provide, and AMP, #X200B. Enough of backstory, let's get to the story. $ME equals obviously $HD equals student that works in help desk and route/screens calls. $FAV secretary equals my favorite secretary, was a sweetheart, but not very computer savvy. Had to explain her a lot of things again and again, but she reined in her professor for me, so I didn't mind. $PhD equals student working for $FAV secretary and simultaneously working on her dissertation. Not computer savvy either. Manages to hard shut down her computer during updates every single time, and AMP, #X200B. It's 1 PM. I'm watching the clock tick by and contemplate what I did wrong in my life to end up in the public sector with a boring job that every monkey can do in an infrastructure that is stuck in the 80s, and AMP, #X200B. The phone rings. A frantic $HD is on the other end, and GT, and GT, $HD. Oh good, you're in. I have $FAV secretary on the phone for you, but she doesn't want to tell me what's the problem. And there is someone crying in the background, and GT, and GT, and GT, $ME. Okay, just give me the call, I'll see what they have done now. Hello $FAV secretary, this is $ME, what can I do for you today? And GT, and GT, and GT, $FAV secretary, oh thank God, you're in today. I know you're not allowed support private USB sticks, but this is really important. $PhD can't see her USB stick on the PC anymore. The crying in the background gets louder. Please, tell me it's not what I think it is. I normally would tell them to drop of the USB stick and I'll get to it in the next couple days. But it's a slow day, and I think we all know where this story is going, and AMP, #X200B, and GT, and GT, $ME. Well, I won't guarantee anything, but I'll come and take a look at it, and GT, and GT, and GT, $FAV secretary to $PhD. Don't worry, $ME is coming, and we'll get it working again, and GT, thanks lady, nothing like a little pressure to save the day. And AMP, #X200B. I inform my boss of the impending fiasco and make my way to the law faculty building. As I enter their floor, I see secretaries like meerkats popping out of their door and just as fast disappearing again. That seems slightly ominous. I get to the office of $PhD and see $FAV secretary wringing her hands and another student worker consoling a crying $PhD and amp. #X200B and GT and GT $ME. So, what's the problem exactly? And GT and GT and GT $PhD. I came in this morning, put in the USB stick and I can't see it. It has my dissertation on it. I have to submit it next week, and GT MOTHERF \\asterisk and amp. #X200B. I take a look at it and sure enough, nothing in Explorer, but I can see an unidentified mass storage device in Device Manager. But surely this is not the only copy of her dissertation. She probably lost like a couple hours of work, but not her whole dissertation. Surely. Because who would work on a dissertation for a couple of years and only save it on one USB stick and amp? #X200B. Well, this idiot did. She worked on it on her private laptop at home, but never saved a copy there. 4 years she was working on the same document, reading and writing on this USB stick. She never saved it on another USB, never saved it on a PC directly, never mailed it to herself. I spent 5 minutes explain to her that mailing it to herself would be a fast and easy way to save it. She did not understand this. To her this would not work, and she was stupefied. I suggested THIS*, never used a private cloud storage, never used the faculty file share, never used the university's own cloud storage and amp. #X200B. While I was getting all this information from her, I tried everything to access a USB stick, no dice and amp. #X200B. Even $FAV secretary. Cringed at some of the answers from $PhD. During this $PhD kept getting more and more distressed. One last try. Maybe she just didn't understand my questions for a backup and GT and GT $ME. So you never saved a copy of this file anywhere else, ever, and GT and GT and GT $PhD. No, why should I? I never needed to. This USB stick was working perfectly for the last 8 years and amp. #X200B. Well, yes, it did. Now it doesn't anymore. It was one of the first Intenso Rainbow USB sticks. Honestly, I was amazed it held for so long. It just reached its COL with all her writing in this file 4 years and amp. #X200B and GT and GT $ME. Have you saved it in any other way? And GT and GT and GT *NOW. In my language saved can also be interpreted as protected and GT and GT and GT $PhD stops crying and her eyes light up and GT and GT and GT *HALLELUJAH. We are saved and amp. #X200B. It was all just a misunderstanding. Of course this 20-something student knows better and backed it up somewhere. She held up this freaking lever. Pouch https://www.google.com/search q equals USB plus LEATHER plus POUCH and AMP RLZ equals 1C1CHBD underscore D844 D844 and AMP SOURC equals LNMS and AMP TBM equals ISCH and AMP SA equals X and AMP VED equals 0 RUQE48 BJW9 XJAVXAKA2's back underscore OIG and AMP BIW equals 128 0 and amp. BIH equals 578 and amp. DPR equals 1.5. Number IMGRC equals AEFNSFVVMVEN0M and amp. #X200B and GT and GT $PhD. Oh yes. I always protected it with this. Every time I unplugged the USB, I put in this. Does this help? NGT, NGT, backslash, NGT, $ME. No, unfortunately this does not help at all and amp, #X200B. This is when the wailing starts. I'm sitting there, wondering how this is my life. The other student worker proceeds to half drag $PhD out of the office into another one, while $FAV secretary looks at me with wide eyes and amp, #X200B, NGT, backslash, NGT, $ME. I want to make clear that this is nothing my department could have prevented as she is responsible for her dissertation and we don't support this. We also don't support data recovery as you know. Everything important should be either on file share or on the university cloud NGT, backslash, NGT, $FAV secretary, understood, $ME. I make sure nothing falls back in you. Just please see if you can save anything. I'll go and make a new pot of coffee and amp, #X200B, bless you, $FAV seconds. It was the truth when I told her we don't recover data. We have backup team for the Filisher and cloud, but desk side support has no tools for data recovery. And everyone knows this. It actually means 99% is saved correctly, and the other 1% is on their own. But the crying. So I consult my boss and my coworkers, and try every freeware we can think of. After about 3 hours I actually have a couple of old file version recovered. Bad news, they are around 5 months old and amp, #X200B. So, after 3 hours, and around 3 pots of coffee, $PhD has become slightly manic with the caffeine-fueled glimmer in her eyes. I show her the files I recovered, send them to her mail, and save them on her work PC, and advise her to either buy the full version of the freeware, or give it to a data recovery specialist NGT, backslash, NGT, $ME. Honestly, go with the data recovery. It will cost you, but they probably can save all of it in NGT, backslash, NGT, $PhD. No, I can do it. No problem. I will just rewrite 5 months of work until my submit date next week. No worries NGT, *SHE keeps mumbling, while walking to her PC. I'm slightly unsettled and just want to get out of her office as soon as possible. $FAV secretary gave me some muffins as a payment and amp, #X200B. I get back to my office and find my coworkers on a smoke break. I still can't believe what just happened, and tell them about the leather pouch. They were all equally mystified as I was, about how stupid users can be and amp, #X200B, but as I said, it has become a good story to scare users into saving and a great icebreaker when meeting new people. And as far as I know $PhD managed to get an extension on her submit date and amp, #X200B, TL, doctor, back up your data, people. And buy a new USB stick every decade or so. That's that *THUD*. Relatively new Reddit lurker, first post. Recently discovered this sub, and thought you might get a quick laugh out of this. I swear this riveting tale is a true story, hand on heart. No TL, doctor, read it or not. So, I work in tech support, and have been for a year and a half. We deal with issues with software on personal phones and computers. This happened straight out of training, just about a month in, when the guides, other employees listening and helping our calls in the beginning, had let go of the reins, and we were taking calls on our own. Still a bit new to procedures, but for the most part, things are going well. I have a few other friends in tech support, not the same firm, who sometimes tell me about idiotic or rude callers. Fun stories which I sometimes dismiss in my mind, because a few of them sounded exaggerated and embellished. Even after landing this job, I still held on to those beliefs for a while. For a while lasted, until I got this particular caller on the line. This caller is polite, generally likable, follows exact instructions, important, and just wants her issue resolved. Nothing wrong with that, right? She calls, because in the past week, her phone has been unable to connect or receive calls, no error messages. She is calling from her office phone, making troubleshooting a bit easier. So, I go through a bit of basic troubleshooting with her. You know, stuff like is airplane mode turned on? No. Does carrier data display websites? Yes, that stuff. We are about halfway down the list of to-do things prior to getting her to contact her carrier/tier 2, when we reach a step I assumed would go by in a jiffy. No chance. The step was to simply remove the SIM card, to see if it was okay, and if the gold plating had fingerprints or anything on it which should not be there. Unlikely, but we do need to check it anyway, and told the caller as much. She complies. She has one of those phones with the SIM card tray. One opens the slot, pulls out the tray, and inserts/remove SIM, reverse process to put it back. Even if you've never seen this exact SIM insertion system in your life, the process is self-explanatory if you've ever owned a cell phone, and this caller had her phone for a while. It cannot get complicated. It is the simplest thing in the world. Or so I thought. She opens the slot, pulls out the tray, removes the SIM. She takes a good hard look at it, cleaning it with a dry cloth for good measure. So far, so good. Then I tell her, alright, now please put the SIM back in the phone, and we'll see if anything changes. She replies, okay. There's a 5-second break in the conversation, and just as I'm about to ask if she has reinserted her SIM, she asks me this, by the way, should the SIM card be *I and *the tray when I put it back in? A bit hesitantly, I reply, yes. She replies, without skipping a beat, oh, because I put in the SIM without using the tray is still on my desk. Now it is my turn to have a 5-second break in the conversation, as my brain struggles to process and comprehend this new piece of data it has just received, and how anyone could actually do that. Of course, I don't tell her that. The next words out my mouth is, can you get it out? She cannot get it out. She struggles a bit with the phone, but the SIM is firmly lodged in there, and the caller's attempt to pry it out with pointy items and tweezers only pushes it further in, and the SIM gets more and more stuck. Luckily, she did not take her ire out on me, still as polite as ever, never even cursing. Similarly, I kept cool and professional, despite the overwhelming urge to slam my head on my desk. I know we cannot continue the troubleshooting until we get the SIM out of the phone and back in the way it is supposed to be, as it is rather necessary in order to troubleshoot the whole calls will not connect issue. I tell the caller as much, and she is understanding of the conundrum. In the end, we agree that I would provide her with a case number so that she can call us back later when she has managed to dislodge the SIM. She agrees and tells me she'll get the phone to an electronics store and see if they can help her with it, and we agree she should call back later. No hard feelings. The last thing I hear before the line drops is thud thud thud, and I realize she is slamming her phone on the desk, not her office phone, but the one she has been calling about, in an attempt to dislodge the SIM the only way she could think of, brute force. Pro tip. Fancy smartphones does not deal well with being repeatedly slammed against a desk. Never did learn what the end result of the case was, but I did learn to properly use baby steps with other callers going forward, and got my very own inept caller story to share with friends. Voice service is too noisy. As always, I work enterprise fiber. I had a call, very recently, where a lady was complaining about excessive noise with the equipment in her equipment closet. The way she was describing it, I thought that the voice gateway, VGW, was burning out, or overheating and about to go into a critical failure. I log into the Cisco, and, as I'm logging in, she says, yes, the fan is a little louder than normal. I think it needs to be checked by a technician. I type show environment and everything is normal. I check the logs for alarms on the VGW and the layer 2 switch the VGW is connected to, and there isn't a single issue with anything. I tell her, ma'am, I'm not finding anything out of the ordinary. The fan may get a little louder if the temperature in the room is a bit higher than normal. She says, well, the increased noise is disruptive to our work environment. We can't work with this noise. Can't you hear it in the background? I'm standing next to it. I can hear dozens of fans going off, but, most importantly, I can hear other people on phone calls in the background. Ma'am, it's not unusual for a fan to get louder if an area is hotter. She says, well, I think a technician needs to look at this because this noise is louder than usual and it should not get any louder. I'm instantly irritated by this as she's demanding a technician for this issue. I tell her that I'm setting up the dispatch as she asked. I submit the ticket to the tech and he doesn't respond. I already know why. I reach out to dispatch to make sure they are aware. Dispatch looks at the ticket and I say, yes, you read it right. No alarms, no abnormalities, no historical or current logs for issues. They let the tech know, and he doesn't respond. I tell dispatch to just let him get there whenever. He contacts me and is like, are they serious? I tell him, I couldn't make up a better story if I submitted this on LSD and bath salts. He gets there and doesn't find any issue aside from the fact that they are leaving the equipment door open to cool off the rest of the office. There aren't too many times I wish harm to people. This is one of those times. Keep forgetting rule 1. On mobile LTL FTP. User calls for password reset. Now our password management tools are web-based and have pictures and words that make it obvious which one you are on. And I agree we shouldn't have so many portals, but it is what it is. Now back to user, I suggest giving new temporary password as user is sure she is on the right portal. No matter what we do she keeps getting error. So over phone I describe how it should look like she answers in the positive. We go back and forth for a good 10 minutes. On a hunch, one unique page has a help button, does not help just link to a FAQ page. I ask if it's there, she says yes. User was on wrong portal, and it looks nothing at all like what I was describing. No way to confuse them as they are all completely different. Users always lie, even if it's to their detriment. Head desk after call. Third party it, and the concept of electricity. I've got 2 quick stories from my current position as a technician for a small ISP. This time, dealing with some of our customers at people and their understanding of electricity. One of these stories is a few months old. The other from just this morning. Both of these customers are among our largest, each with employee counts in the hundreds and amp. #X200B. Story 1. ****. A while back, we got a call from one of our major customers. They had experienced a power outage, but their backup power had come online and their internet was still down. Of course, the first thing I check is our monitoring system to see the status and history of their ONT. This ONT showed a warning that it was on battery power. In this state, the ONT will disable all services other than phones in case emergency calls need to be made while the power is out, and to keep the ONT online as long as possible. I asked the tech that had called us to check on the ONT and confirm that it's actually connected to power. The tech hangs up to go do so and amp #X200B. About 20 minutes later, I get a call on my direct line from the same tech. Not only did the ONT have no power, but the entire networking room lacked power. They had forgotten to connect the circuit that room was onto their backup power grid when it was put in and amp #X200B. Story 2. ****. Just this morning I took a call from another one of our major customers. They had experienced a power outage earlier in the morning, but now that the power was back on, they still had no internet service and were wondering why this was the case. The tech stated that it was important that they get internet online again soon in order to continue their work. Our monitoring system said that their ONT was online and that it had gone down around the time of the power outage. Story checks out. However, the port that their firewall is connected to showed no DHCP leases. Static IPs are also shown in this section of our interface, indicating that it was either not powered or had failed to grab an IP after booting, as it may have booted faster than our ONT did after the power returned and amp #X200B. The first thing I suggest to the tech to try is to reseat the Ethernet cable in the firewall or to reboot the firewall to try to convince it to grab its assigned static IP address, but, of course, he's off site and is 20 minutes away. He'll go on site and try that right away and amp #X200B. 50 minutes later, he calls back and says everything is working again. I thought you said it was urgent, bud.